सर लाइव है फेसबुक के ऊपर।
Jai Hind. Brigadier Hemant Mahajan welcomes you to E-Vyakhanmala today. The subject of my talk is how to motivate yourself, your friends, your family, and everybody during these pandemic times, which are very difficult times. Also, the examinations of 10th, 11th, 12th are due. Lot of colleges examinations are due. Lot of students are likely to appear for various competitive examinations to get into various careers. So therefore, there's a lot of tension in the air as to during the pandemic time, during the time of Chinese virus, how will you win the battle of examination hall? So I'll talk a bit on that. And also, there is still some time left, 1 month, 1.5 months, depending upon which exam are you appearing for. How do you prepare yourself for the examination that you're going to appear in the times to come? So this is applicable to the students. This is applicable to the parents. It is also applicable to teachers, and it's applicable to anybody who wants to help his neighbors, his relations, and so on and so forth. So I'll talk on all these issues now. And the sequence of my talk is basically shown to you here. I will firstly talk about the battle of examination hall. Thereafter, I'll talk about how to study. Not that I need to tell you about it, but in the army, there used to be a lecture given by our seniors who used to tell you before an examination as to how should you approach the examination, how should you enter the examination hall, how should you prepare yourself for last 7 days, last 1 month, etc. And therefore, the art of study is equally important, and most important is to how to remain motivated in this difficult times. Today, there's a negative news all over that the pandemic, second wave of corona or the Chinese virus has hit the country. There are issues related to medical, there are issues related to economic aspects, and the country is doing its utmost to fight it. So during these difficult times, how do you motivate yourself is what we are going to discuss. So we will, today, a lot of people claim that they get bored because they get stuck up in the house. They are not able to go to the bazaar. They are not able to lead their normal life. And today, you'll never be able to lead the normal life. So we will talk about how to motivate yourself in these difficult times. And one of the greatest motivator the country ever produced. And here is a legend, the army legend, Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. And you can see children here trying to catch hands with him, people behind him smiling, etc. He was a great motivator who motivated the Indian Armed Forces to the greatest victory ever scored. So we will talk about the art of motivation. In all this, what is important is good communication. You should be able to communicate your problem, because the moment you have understand your problem, you identify your problem, you can always find a solution to it. So how to motivate yourself, how to motivate your children, how to motivate your family is all that we are going to talk about. Before I start my main topic, I will present to you with something which was told to us many years back. This is called Message to Garcia. This is basically how a message was passed to Garcia. What it is about is that during the war between Russia and Japan, every Russian soldier was given a booklet which consisted of a chapter on how to convey a message to Garcia. The Japanese who were fighting against the Russians found this book with every soldier. So the Japanese commander said that we must translate this into Japanese language, and therefore a copy was issued by the Japanese Supreme Commander and given to the Japanese soldiers and also to the Japanese civilians. This was the philosophy they were expected to follow when faced with difficult situation. What was this message to Garcia? This message was that when a war broke out between Spain and USA, an important message had to be passed by the US president to General GARCIA, who was the leader of insurgents somewhere in the mountains of Cuba. Nobody knew where he was, how he could be communicated. But it was an important message, so it had to be delivered. Now, the most important issue is those were the times when there was no telegraph, no SMSs, no nothing. How do you deliver the message? Who will carry the message? So when president was faced with this dilemma, somebody told the president that, well, if you want to do this job, give it to Tanaji. He alone can do it. So Tanaji was sent for. He was given the letter to be delivered to Garcia, and thereafter he went and delivered it. It's a longish message, but it is not important to tell you as to how this message was was sealed in an oil skill punch, strapped around the heart. 4 days you had to walk, land at the night on the coast of Cuba in an open boat, traverse in a hostile country on the foot, through the jungles, through the swamp. The point is, Tanaji was given a letter to be delivered to Garcia. He took the letter. He did not even ask, who's Garcia? Where do I find him? Now, you try this in your normal life. If you're sitting in an office with 6 clerks at your disposal, call anybody and ask him and tell him, yeah, I want you to write a brief memorandum concerning the action of Garcia. Will they quietly do it? In all probability, any subordinate to whom you give this job, he will ask you, who is he? Which is the encyclopedia? Is that my job? Do you mean this work should be given to Bismarck? Isn't Garcia dead? Why don't you ask Charlie to do it? Why do you want to know it now? Is there a hurry? Should I get the book to you so that you can look for it yourself? By applying a law of averages, you can easily find out that many people will tell you about it. So this incapacity, this stupidity, this unwillingness to cheerfully accept responsibility and to act upon themselves clearly tells you as to whether you have those kind of people in your organization who can be trusted to deliver a message to Garcia. If men will not act for themselves, what will they do when the benefit of their effort is for all? Self-interest prompts every leader to keep best man for himself who can carry message to Garcia. All leaders look for men when given a letter to Garcia, quietly takes the missive and delivers the message. This person is never absent. This person will always do the job. He will never ask for higher wages, but he will do the job which has been allotted to him. Today, this is what country requires. We are passing through difficult times. We require a lot of fighting spirit to get ourselves out of this Chinese viruses grips, out of the economic hardship which the Chinese have caused to us. And if we fight today, I'm sure we as an individual, as a family, as a society, and as a nation, we will come out of this corona or the Chinese virus with fighting colors, and we will still win this battle with corona. So the world today cries for such people who are badly needed, who can deliver a message to Garcia. And this is what we are going to talk about. All of us have to be have a fighting spirit by which we will do what we have to do, and ultimately we will win this battle of corona or the Chinese virus. So today, what is required is not something which the schools and colleges can tell you, but it is about stiffening the vertebrae. It is fighting spirit to act promptly, to act, be loyal, trustworthy, and concentrate all the energies to deliver the message to Garcia. Today, country, society needs all this so that we can do what we are supposed to do during this difficult times. Now, I will quickly come to the preparation of examination technique. Today, you have an examination which is going to come. 10th exam, of course, is not going to be there. 12th is going to be in the month of May. A lot of students are appearing for UPSC, MPSC examinations, many competitive examinations, etc. So what is important is this is the philosophy which we were told 35 years back is what we need to follow, that you should consider yourself. Look at these things. Look at these lines. You should consider yourself as a student for all your life, where most men do learning as a matter of preference. For an army officer, the obligation for learning and increasing his knowledge is public duty. All of us need to be student for the life, learn at each stage of life, and become a better person in whatever profession you are working in. So I'll very briefly tell you about, discuss the technique for preparing for examinations. These are only general guidelines. And remember, this is not the ultimate, because when you talk of a technique, the technique consists of two important aspects. One is yourself, and secondly, the subject that you have to prepare for. Individuals will have their own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So therefore, each of us, each student will have to develop his own technique. However, what I'm going to tell you is basically a scientific research done over a period of time, and therefore applicable to most of the people. Some of it, all of it, part of it can always be applied to become a better student and become a better person. So what we'll talk about will be how to study, how to answer, how to go into the examination hall. All these issues we will talk about. What is the examination? It's a test of relative professional merit. It compares your mental tuning and capability to work under pressure. In just 3 hours, when the examination paper is there, you are required to solve certain number of questions. And in any examination, there will always be 10 to 15% of questions which will be tough, for which you may not have prepared for. So therefore, you require a technique of answering all kinds of questions. And the written all these examinations are all written examinations. So nobody is going to see your face, but people are only going to judge you by what you write in the examination hall. So therefore, one has to have practice of writing. One has to solve question papers. One has to get his question papers corrected and prepare ultimately for the battle of examination hall. Now, there are certain dynamics which are important. Guesswork will not help. So do not unnecessarily guess, especially with regard to objective question. Luck is an important part, but you cannot be depending upon luck to prepare for the examinations. Remember, if there's a problem with you, the problem is faced by all the students, all by everybody who appears for the examination. And remember, by and large, the examination system is fair and it does recognize merit. Of course, there are cases in which some people become unlucky. Some people are not able to do justice in that 3 hours, but well, the system is fairly fair. Now, what do you look in an examiner? He is an evaluator, a person who's going to check your papers. He is harassed. He wants to get over checking your papers as far as possible, as early as possible. So therefore, what do? So you have to prepare yourself methodically. You have to study for 9 months, 10 months, etc. You have to follow what is called as the capsule method. What it simply means is, before the examination, 1 month, 1.5 months, whatever is left for the examination, you have to follow, you have to revise all the subjects that are at your disposal, because ultimately the exam will come after 1.5 months. So you have to balance between the examination, the family times, the prayers, and you should not fall prey to any rumors, any guesswork, etc. There will be rumors, the exam is cancelled. No, you prepare yourself for the examination. By any chance, if it gets cancelled, it is just too bad. But do not assume what suits you. You have to prepare yourself very seriously for the examination. And before the examination, many things are important. We will talk about it. The triangle which is important here for preparing any examination or for any studies, this is very important. There's the individual student, then he has the teachers who teach him a particular subject, and there are parents who motivate him, who supervise him, who take care of his administrative needs, etc. So if the team is good, the individual or the student will always win. You will always require your teachers to guide you. So suppose if you have any examination, if you have any doubt in any particular subject, definitely fall back to the teacher. He is your guru, and ask him, please solve my doubt. Making a study group also helps, but this is of course for higher things like people who appear for competitive exams, because when you study in a group of 9, 10, more than that, then you can always learn from each other. Each student has its own way of studying, and you possibly, by observing a lot of students studying together, can utilize the best technique which is applicable to you. You can exchange notes, you can solve each other's doubts, you can discuss topics, you can discuss views. This is all will help you if you make a group. And the most important issue is, have a faith in yourself, because ultimately, whatever is your background, the examination has to be given by you. You have to have faith in your own ability. You have studied methodically. You have worked hard. You have prepared for all the subjects. You have prepared for all the contingencies. So luck will be fair and you will get your dues. I'll go ahead. There's a suggested studying technique when you revise something. And this technique is also called as SQ3R theory. I repeat again, SQ3R theory. It's a scientific theory. S means survey, Q means question, and R means 3R means revision, daily revision, weekly revision, monthly revision, and before the examination revision. Very briefly, I'll tell you about it because these things are available anywhere. This is a scientific research done by examiners as to how to prepare for the examination. So S means survey. When you read your book, which is your prescribed book, and you're reading a particular chapter, you carry out a survey. What is the chapter all about? What are the main themes that have been covered in the chapter? What are the important points that have been covered in the chapter? What are the various headings under which the topics have been covered? What are the subtopics, headings which have been covered? What is given in the introduction? What is given in the conclusion? So if you carry out a survey of introduction, conclusion, various subtopics that have been covered in this, various para headings, various sub-para headings, then in a glance, you are able to know as to what is this chapter all about. This method is called survey, and in this, what is done is what is called as the vertical reading. The next aspect is question. When you read a chapter, ask yourself, if you are an examiner, what kind of a question you can ask out of this chapter. If you question yourself as to what question can be asked, then your study becomes more focused. For that, you have to see yesterday's question papers, see last 10 years question papers, and see as to what are the kind of questions that are asked. Prepare, put them into type of questions. So when you prepare them as a type of questions, then you can put yourself in examiner's shoe, and each chapter decide for yourself as to what questions will you ask if you are asked to set up a question paper. Then the last point is revision, daily revision, weekly and monthly. Now, daily revision means it is said that if you revise anything today, then it is said that in next 24 hours, an average student can forget as much as 50% of it. For you to retain it properly, what you do is you last 1 hour of your studies in every day is used for revising what you studied the whole day. That means if you studied for 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, depending upon your stamina, depending upon your capability, then last 1 hour is utilized by deciding as to what did you study up till now. Okay. Then thereafter is a weekly revision. Weekly revision means generally Sunday is kept separately for revising everything that you studied from Monday to Saturday. So therefore, it's a revision of last 6 days. Then there's a monthly revision. In the monthly revision, last 2 or 3 days, say if the month consists of 30 days, then 29th and 30th of each month is kept for revision of whatever you studied during the whole month. And before the examination, now most of you have reached the level of just before the examination. Examination is barely 1 month or 1.5 months away, depending upon what you are what exam are you preparing for. In that case, you have to work in the reverse order. Suppose if there are 5 or 6 subjects to study, there are various methods which good students use. Some people study 1 subject per day. Some people study 3 subjects per day, 3 one day, 3 next day, and they divide the part of the day into various parts. The most difficult subject is studied when you are fresh. The easiest subject is studied in the evening. So therefore, how much weightage to give to each subject, what subject to cover in one particular day, you really have to prepare your timetable in which you say, okay, 1 month before the examination, today, let's say today is today we are at 22nd of April. To 22nd of April, I covered 3 subjects, 9 to 12, 1 subject, 2 to 5, another subject, 6 to say 12, another subject. Similarly, you give the subject and the chapter you're going to study. So basically, you prepare a timetable by going in the reverse direction, and based upon exactly the examination timetable, you prepare yourself subject-wise. So this is called revision. Now, one can talk a lot on that, but basically, broadly, I'm talking about on all these issues. It is important for you to cover the complete syllabus. You have to build up your self-confidence by analytical skills. You have to also what is called as utilize your knowledge, utilize your experience, that kind of a thing. You have to ensure that you eat a good diet. You have to carry out light exercises so that you do not fall ill before the examination. Even a small thing like cold cough can upset your timetable. And you have to follow a disciplined approach towards studying. So another important issue is just before the examination, 1 month before, do not study anything new, but rather organize the knowledge which you have already gained in your mind properly so that you are able to recall it when required. You have to organize your notes. You have to prepare your notes. How do you prepare notes is a separate topic. You must have your book of ideas in which if you come to know a good tip of studying geography, a good tip of studying mathematics, a good tip of studying English, a good tip of studying any subject, you write it there. And there are many methods of studying. One is by hearting, second is understanding, third is analyzing. Each subject has its own method or own techniques of studying, so you can follow. Some people follow what is called as the acronym technique. Some people remember things by hearting it. You take your own kill. You decide upon your own method. You have to also practice writing. You also have to also practice giving a legible presentation. You can give yourself test of appearing for mock test. You have to organize your study material properly. At the end of the day, you have to prepare. Family support will always help you. Pranayam is always very good because it improves your stamina, etc. When you go in the examination hall, understand the question as to what exactly has the examiner asked. Write down points under which you're going to cover the question in point form, in point form on a rough paper, so that when you start writing actually about it, then you can organize your points that you already know in a proper manner, so that you can write your answer in a much better manner. You have to enumerate, you have to draw diagrams, you have to draw map, you have to draw pictures. There are many ways of doing it, but what I'm talking about today is very generic techniques. And most important is, suppose if the examiner says answer it in only 100 words or answer it in only 250 words, you must answer only in that much of space and not more. Your handwriting should be legible. Examiners should be able to read it. Use of graphs, use of table, etc. This should be done wherever required. Do not beat around the bush. Draw a diagram, draw a sketch if required. Stick to the word limit when required. Periodically monitor as to whether you have been able to complete the complete question paper or not. Because if there is a particular time given for an examination, let us say in the army they gave us 3 hours for each question paper. So we used to revise. We used to spend first 10 to 15 minutes in reading the whole question paper. Last 15 minutes was kept only for revising as to what you had written, and in between 2 hours and 30 minutes actually were used for writing the answers. And each question, the marks allotted to the question for answering was proportional to the marks which the question had. So therefore, generally we used to find that for 100 words, you had about 10 to 12 minutes to write an answer. For a question of a bigger size, that is 250 words, you had about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to answer. And out of the time that you had to answer for each question, first 1 or 2 minutes were spent in trying to jot down points under which you're going to cover the particular answers to that particular question. Then we used to organize and sequence the answer properly. And then 6 to 7 minutes were actually utilized for writing it. And last 1 minute was always spent to see whether what you wanted to write, have you written it correctly or not. And when your last 15 minutes were remaining, then you went over your complete question paper, complete answer sheet to find out whether you have covered what you wanted to cover. In 1 to 2 minutes each, you went over all the answers to the points that you had already written. So therefore, commence your answer, underline the issues, answer all the questions. Some people make a mistake. Some questions they write too much. Some other questions they just leave it together. What we must understand is it is important to write all the questions together. And sometimes, some people say, I will write the easy answer, easy questions first, answers to easy questions first, and answers to the difficult ones later. But that is not easy because a lot of times what is easy, if it's easy, then at times you tend to spend far too much of a time on it. So therefore, each question must be given the time in which it should be answered, easy or difficult. And when the time is over, you just leave that question or you leave that answer and move on to the next question and come back to it if you have time later. I'm giving some very generous tips, but these can be refined depending upon your personality. And this is what is important, that we are all as students so long as our minds remain active. We can always improve as a student. While some of you may have scored very good marks, but by learning better techniques, by trying to follow better methods of studying, by better methods of writing a question answers, improving your answering technique, you can always do better than what you did last time. Now, I had intended to cover actually two topics today. The last topic was how to motivate yourself, but I find that I'm running out of time. So what I will do is I will only introduce you to this topic, and we will cover the topic later, because I would like to take on one or question if it's there. Let me see if any questions are there. But I'll just quickly tell you about one or two points about motivation, as to how to motivate yourself, and I'll talk about it for only 2 minutes, and then cover this topic coming Friday evening at the same time. How to motivate yourself. Now look at this. A mountaineer, a sportsman leading a sports team, leads his team to a victory. A soldier on the line of control detects a terrorist in bad weather. What people who have high achievements in life, what do they have in common? What they have in common is that they are highly motivated and determined to succeed, to win and achieve goals despite all odds. So what is important is, you will have your problems, you will have a tough moments in life, there will be difficult moments in life, but if you keep your fighting spirit, if you remain motivated, then you can overcome this problem. So therefore, the power of motivation cannot be underestimated. What is important is that the power of motivation is so high that it makes extraordinary achievement possible. Today, if you look at some of the students who study, and in fact, you must have read a lot of magazines, you must have seen a lot of interviews. A lot of successful students give interviews and tell you as to how did they achieve their success. So maybe you can listen to them, how what kind of a diet they had, what are the techniques of studying they used, etc. So therefore, if you want to learn, you can always learn. You can always motivate yourself to understand better techniques. So therefore, motivation is a very powerful technique. And in anybody's life, we have to deal with people, either our senior, junior, peers, family members, neighbors, etc. And if you want to achieve outstanding success, then you have to remain motivated. There are a lot of definitions of motivation. Motivation, you can read it here. Motivation is the restlessness within a person that impels him to accomplish tasks under all circumstances without counting the cost to himself. Motivation is a self-propelling force within a man that keeps him, prompting him to improve his performance and his behavior. It is his will and keenness to achieve not what he is supposed to achieve and what he wants to set for himself. So with these kind of things, I will leave this last thing here and tell you that, okay, since the time is over, I will stop here, and the art of motivation, etc. These things we'll talk about here. I'll just flash the slides here as to Friday or coming Friday. There are a lot of things we can do, and we will talk about all these issues. We'll talk about people who achieved great successes despite all the problem that they had in life. And in the armed forces, we have what is called as how to motivate yourself: passion in the heart and fire in the belly. Read this again: passion in the heart and fire in the belly. This is what we will talk about, and I'll end the next Friday's presentation on this. That therefore, Arjuna, get up and with a resolve to fight. You have to fight. You have to fight. These are difficult times, but if you are determined, we will overcome all the problems that we are facing today, and we will succeed in whatever field we have. So I'll stop here, and I'll see if there are any questions. If there are any this thing, I'll take on a few questions and try and answer them if possible. I was trying to see if there are any questions. Let me see if there are any questions. If there are any questions, I'll try. On the chat, I find a lot of points are there. I will, okay, I'll just take some of them. Shri Kulkarni is saying very good motivational tricks for students. Yes, Kulkarni ji, I'm very thankful that you have written this remark. Do convey it to as many people as you can. Then Sakshi Agarwal has written, thanks, sir, for a motivational lecture, etc. Okay, there are something up on the top. Jai Hind, all this kind of a thing is there. Okay, yeah. Now let me see if there are any more things which I can see on the chat box which is there in our this thing. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see it. So I think we will stop here now, and we will again meet coming Friday, in which we'll talk about the art of motivation and how we can utilize these techniques to motivate yourself. Thank you very much. Try and share this with as many people as possible. Jai Hind.